everyone. It's time for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman, and this is Empowering Astrology for the week of November 15th through 21st, 2021. So we are, number one, coming to the last week of Scorpio season. So this has been our time, our zodiac time, to go through our underworld. And Scorpio makes us face ourselves. And it's a time when maybe it's not light and breezy, but Scorpio teaches us that all things come to an end, but that they are reborn again in the spring. And this is sort of that beautiful duality between Scorpio and Taurus, which we're going to get into, because the other thing this week is that we have a lunar eclipse in Taurus. It's going to be at 27 degrees of Taurus on Friday, November 19th. And this is really going to be putting some big spotlights on things in our lives as we go later this week. Whenever we step into eclipse season, we're entering this liminal space between one life and another, one chapter and another. And when you get into the eclipses, especially the 2 weeks before the eclipses, there is this sense that we are between times. We are between things in our life, but not to get ahead of myself. Again, my name is Katie Sweetman. I'm an astrologer and psychic medium here in the New York City area. We gather every week. I know that we are both on Facebook. We are on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram. Thank you all for joining me again and again. You all kind of give this show life. Otherwise, I just feel like I'm talking into the void. But, I hosted a webinar last week on the eclipses. Speaking of which, you can still get the replay. The link is in the show notes, but you can learn all about the eclipses and get a deep dive into what the eclipses mean, because I do talk about eclipses more in depth. I talk about what it means for your sign and how this week in particular, although you could say this is something that's already been starting, we are opening up a new chapter, because the eclipse in Taurus this week, it's the first in a series of eclipses that are going to take us into the middle to end of 2023, which I know feels like forever from now, but I know some of you watched the webinar. Thank you so much. And even some of you were in my class this weekend, my first module 1 class on the fundamentals of astrology, but that's something that you can still take part of. But, I was thinking a lot about, this last stretch of Scorpio season and all the things that typically come up during Scorpio season, a lot of soul searching and navel gazing. But that said, something that you hear me say often is that the astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%. And we're not all living the same time. Astrology is just the energy of time, symbolic time. We're not all living this time the same way. Scorpio season for one person is very different than the other, but sometimes we get stuck. You go through the astrology and you're like, wait, nothing's happening. Everything's the same. I feel stuck. Because in that razor wire between the 50% of the astrology and the other 50% is you, there's our fears, our insecurities, our unconscious, our subconscious. Sometimes there's a disconnect in that fine space between the 50% of the astrology and the you part. So, I'm going to say to you all this week, it's like, how do you use this really dynamic, powerful energy of Scorpio season, full moon in Taurus, lunar eclipse to get unstuck? Because this eclipse is really bringing ahead a lot of energy that's been fermenting and culminating all year long, but truly since 2018, 2019. That's another thing you all hear me say over and over again, because I love looking at these big cycles and arcs of time, and how even though here we are, it's November 15th, the astrology of this week is actually connected to different points in time. I don't know, maybe that makes me a nerd, but nice to see some familiar faces on the live chat. Thank you for saying hello. Let me know where you're watching from. It's fun to look around the world. Again, I'm here in the New York City area. I'm just outside in New Jersey. I've made a big move, back in June. That was last eclipse season for me. And that's the thing about eclipses, is that they coincide with some of the major milestones of our life. And it's not all bad. You know, eclipses have this reputation, and yes, they sometimes do coincide with some major life events that maybe aren't great, but they can usher in a new chapter. They can herald a birth of a child. They can talk about a move. They can talk about a career change. And so there's this sense of right now everything is pregnant. You know, what's transpiring, what's taking place, and you can say, well, you know, maybe you're getting already a hint of it over the last couple of weeks since the Scorpio new moon. I believe it was November 4th. But then, you know, what was happening in and around May, June 2018, March, April 2019. That's another thread between now and then. But, you know, that said, there's a lot going on this week. We got a lot to cover, so I'm just going to kind of power through it. But that said, yeah, the week of November 15th through 21st, 2021, again, it's the last week of Scorpio season. We're just going to barely step into Sagittarius season by the time we get to Sunday. But really, we'll talk about Sagittarius week season next week. Happy early birthdays to my Sages out there. My joke is, you know, Sag is known for being the sign of wisdom and knowledge. Well, how does it get wisdom and knowledge? Well, we have to go through Scorpio first. And Scorpio teaches us that true wisdom and knowledge, it has to be earned. It has to be lived. We have to be tested by life. But, you know, we only have four weeks in Scorpio, and then we go into Sag. It's going to be a very different feel this week. And in a way, speaking of Sag, Jupiter is the ruler of Sag. But today, November 15th, we have a square between the Sun in Scorpio and Jupiter and Sagittarius. Not Jupiter and Sagittarius, Jupiter and Aquarius. Typically, when the Sun and Jupiter make angles, there's these deeper questions about faith and truth. What does it all mean? There's a sense of searching, traveling, looking outside of ourselves, and actually something I was teaching about in my my astrology class this weekend. One of my pet peeves is when people say Jupiter is a planet of growth. Well, yes, but what is Jupiter really? Deep down inside, Jupiter is the planet that really inspires us to look beyond ourselves. Everybody answers that call differently. Maybe it's higher education, maybe it's travel and adventure, maybe it's religion or philosophy, but there's a sense that Jupiter gets us to look outside of ourselves and try to make meaning and to search. And yes, of course, it can make things grow. And sometimes it makes the things that we don't want to grow. But that said, you know, we are trying to look outside of ourselves this week, you know, trying to make sense of things. And we are, you know, coming to the end of Scorpio season. What have we learned? That's the other side of Jupiter. It's like, how do we grow and evolve and gain wisdom and knowledge in this world where, you know, we have to go through Scorpio experiences? So what have we learned? What sort of insights? That's the other thing. And I'll get emails from people from time to time sharing their own powerful insights. And maybe that's something that came to you this week. Something clicked. Something finally made sense. You've heard me say week in and week out, like, this is the story. This is what's happening. But then that information found a place to live inside of you. So this is the thing about Jupiter, is that we're trying to grow, yes, but really what is growth? Well, it's really to grow and evolve ourselves, our sense of self-awareness, our sense of something outside of ourselves. And this week, maybe that's what we're doing. I will say Jupiter, in hard aspect to the Sun, we typically can be a little opinionated. Maybe we're standing up for what we believe in. Maybe we have to be sure that we're not coming across as a jerk. But this could be time to really share our knowledge with other people. Sometimes Sun and Jupiter tends to be a little overindulgent, just putting that out there as well. But really, there are these two marquee aspects this week. One is Mars opposite Uranus, and that's going to happen on November 17th, Wednesday, November 17th. So Mars being the ruler of Scorpio season. This is a big aspect. And then, of course, we have Mars in aspect with Saturn and Uranus. We had the square to Saturn last week. This week is the opposition. So here's the thing about 2021. I sound like a little bit of a broken record at this point, but just so it all starts to click in 2021, it's like 2020, something ended. 2020 was a hard stop, and you could say, well, no duh, Katie, like look what happened in the world. But astrologically, it was a hard stop, and then that hard stop started to create cracks and movements, and the things we thought would never change and move started to change and move. When Saturn went into Aquarius in December of 2020, it started to make something called a square to Uranus and Taurus. Taurus and Aquarius are what are called fixed signs. The fixed signs are exactly that. They keep things fixed. Imagine a world where nothing is fixed. It's hard to create a sense of stability and security. It's hard to look towards the future and build towards the future. Aquarius, Taurus, we don't feel like we have solid ground beneath our feet. But the idea is that even though it's a little destabilizing right now, we have to reorient a lot of things in our lives. And this includes getting stuck out of the patterns or the situations or the relationships that are keeping us in a pattern or a shape that's not really us. So in 2021, there are these 3 key dates. You've heard me say them before: February 17th, June 14th, and the last would be December 24th, where it's really pushing and tugging and pulling at these tectonic plates of our life. But as somebody shared to me their own insights, it's like we can't be in these 2 separate spaces forever. At some point, we have to have the courage to step towards something that maybe in January of this year, earlier this year, we never thought we would step towards. My joke is like, I never thought I would leave New York City. I mean, yeah, I can still see it from my window, but I never thought I would leave New York City. But I moved, a few days or a week after that second square between Saturn and Uranus on June 14th. But the idea is that I needed to get out of a situation that maybe at the time I didn't realize was keeping me either restricted or small or not maybe the best support for my life. Maybe you can see something similar in your life, but the idea is that maybe things are moving and you got to have the courage. And I think that's another aspect of this week with Mars opposite Uranus and the lunar eclipse on Friday, is that we have to have the courage and the bravery, Venus is square Chiron, to really step into something that's very new. And it might mean leaving behind the comfort of something that we've known. This is the thing. We don't make changes when we're comfortable. That's just human nature. We have to really sometimes get out of ourselves and have faith. The lunar eclipse is square Jupiter. Have faith that there has to be something better on the other side. But all we know is that we are uncomfortable psychically and emotionally, and maybe even spiritually uncomfortable trying to hold these 2 separate spaces, 1 foot in a new life, 1 foot in an old life. So maybe this is the week where you summon the courage to do something that you never thought you would do, hopefully positively, or you step out of something that you never thought you'd step out of because you had a lot of attachment, even if that's attachment that's run through the filter of grief and insecurity. That's where I'm like, use this week to really work on that razor fine edge between the astrology and you, and then use Taurus, that Taurus energy that by its nature wants to create stability and wants to stay put. But that's the thing about this full moon that we have. It's not staying put. It's like we have to create stability and security, but we have to create it in a very different place. That could be a physical place. That could be a non-physical place. Everybody has to sort of meditate on and reflect on what's coming up for you all in your own place. But I get it. Like some of you are my clients. We've talked. Like it's like, well, what's going to happen to me if I make that next step into the new life? And I'm like, I don't know. But are you miserable? Are you suffering, trying to stay where you are? I don't know, that maybe that makes sense for you, maybe that doesn't make sense for you, but at the end of the day, you have to listen to yourself. You have to get out of your head, get out of your fears the best that you can. We're all human, and listen to yourself. But yeah, Mars opposite Uranus in a way is bringing up a lot of changes, a lot of astrology that we've been having all year long, and in a way echoing to the stuff in 2018, 2019, and bringing it to a head. You want to make a break? Okay, here's your week. Mars opposite Uranus. You want to start to head towards something very new? Okay, Uranus demands authenticity. It has zero sentimentality about the past. It doesn't care that we really like something and we want to keep doing it. If that thing or that relationship or that job or that whatever is counter to our spiritual growth, it's just going to have to go. And it's not my rules. That's just how the universe works, and what I've seen over and over again in my life and in other people's lives. So this is a big week. You use it to really reflect in your own time. Like, how can you use this energy to make a positive change in your life? But typically Mars opposite Mars opposite Uranus, it's not the easiest of energy. It can be impatient, it can be rushed, it can be confrontational, it can really sometimes be accident prone. So don't rush. But there is the sense that something or someone is Uranus to us. Uranus is Prometheus. It turns on a light. It gives us fire. It helps us to see things that we hadn't seen before. And because this is an opposition, it could be through a relationship. It could be through a connection. Somebody that we never thought we would even connect with. It's like, wow, this is totally different. So things are moving. That's the other thing about eclipse season, is that time's just weird. It moves quickly. It moves kind of how it wants to go. Things kind of feel like, again, that liminality of eclipse season. There's a sense that life is twisting and turning. There's some plot twists in the gate. But then we get to that full moon, that lunar eclipse on November 19th. So this full moon is one of the marquee events of the astrology of 2021. Eclipses, of course, rank very high in what is happening throughout the astrology of the year. This one in particular, at 27 degrees of Taurus, it starts a cycle of eclipses that are going to be between Taurus and Scorpio all the way until October of 2023. So the North Node by January of 2022 will go into Taurus. It's in Gemini right now. That's why we're starting to come to the end of eclipses between Gemini and Sagittarius. And the North Node in Taurus says that we have to find stability and security. We have to find solid ground. As I record this, certainly here in the Northeast of the United States, this is the time when the leaves are falling, when it's colder, when it's darker. And so there's that sense that things end, things decay, things die in Scorpio season. But Taurus is like, but don't worry, come May, come spring. I realize it's a very Northern Hemisphere example, but come May, the flowers are back. So everything comes back to life. So we have to sort of understand that as things leave our life right now, there is the other side, there's Taurus. Taurus, by its nature, seeks out the pleasure of life. Its taste, its touch, its smell, its sensuality, its sex. It's this very physicality of life. It's our material life as well. So we're really having to take a big look. Lunar eclipses, they force an issue. They put a big spotlight on a certain part of our life. And they said, okay, well, what is your relationship with pleasure? What is your relationship with fertility? Stability, money, material stability, and resource, even self-worth and value. And in a way, these are not new themes or questions. These are things that we have been examining while Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018, 2019. So it's my belief that this lunar eclipse really galvanizes something. It really starts to bring things to the next chapter with the things that have been happening over the last couple of years. But this is a big eclipse. We have Venus in Capricorn. We really have to think about our future, make plans for the future. Venus is square Chiron. We have to have the courage and bravery to take action, to do something that maybe we've been a little insecure or afraid to take action on. The full moon is trine Pluto. This is a powerful new moon, but it's square Jupiter, like having to have the faith and the courage that there is something better on the other side once we let something go, we let something die. That's the beauty of Scorpio energy, is that sometimes we need it to let something die in our life that we've been afraid to let go, so that something new can come in. To that point, lunar eclipses, it's like a door. Something comes in and comes out of your life. Sometimes things literally get eclipsed in your life. Suddenly your boss gets fired and you're like, where'd he go, or where'd she go? Or there's the sense that, this sort of that seesaw of fate. Somebody's star rises and somebody's star falls, not to make anybody nervous, of course, but this is a big eclipse. As I've said before, it really capitalizes on the changes that we've been making since the beginning of this year, if not longer. And like I've been saying, one foot in a new life, one foot in an old life. Now you have to have the courage to put all of yourself in this new life, because we're still in this tricky energy, this push and pull, even into 2022. We've got like a Capricorn new moon. We've got an Aquarius new moon in February. So it's like, even though the last square is at the end of 2021, we're still feeling the energies of change and transformation as we go in 2022. I'm going to be doing a webinar on the astrology of 2022. Stay tuned. I just got to pick a date. And so you guys can get a bigger look at the astrology of the new year. But yeah, and then by the time we get to Sunday, late Sunday, at least here Eastern Standard Time, the sun will go into Sagittarius, and we're kind of going to get out of that Mars Scorpio energy and go into Jupiter and Aquarius. So it's going to be fire and air going into next week is a very different energy than all this water and earth. But that said, let's take a look at what this astrology means for each of the 12 signs. So Aries, we've got a Taurus full moon. Taurus is your money sign, so this is really highlighting a lot of the stuff that you've been working on for the last few years. How do you want to earn a living? What do you value? What do you need? And this is the thing, everybody needs something differently, but we're human beings. We still need a roof over our head. We still need some sense of resource or money or some other form of currency available to us. But you're really examining the role of stability in your life. And when you have that Taurus energy highlighted, you're really maybe purchasing things, you're thinking about investments, you're looking around at your life, you're like, well, how do I make this more solid? Maybe that's relevant to you, or maybe you need to go back to basics and be like, all right, what I have is definitely not working. It's weighing me down. It's not aligned with who I am. But that push and pull all year long has been happening between your vision of the future versus maybe what you really need now. Maybe your relationships with your community versus how you feel like your community and society and humanity values you. But this is a season where it is about your material life, I will say, because Mars is still in Scorpio. You're having to do a lot of deep work right now, Aries, a lot of soul searching, a lot of looking at your shadows, looking at your blind spots and facing yourself, because when you get into Sagittarius season, you get into Mars and Sagittarius in the middle of December, things will get lighter. But really do the deep work right now, Aries, because you are at a crossroads right now. Just use the Mars opposite Uranus to really liberate yourself from something, because this is like your chance. You only get the opposition once every 2 years to really break free of something that's not been supporting and nourishing your life. Taurus, you are in the hot seat right now. So when you have an eclipse in your sign, a couple of things happen. One, it's a time about powerful new beginnings. You're in the spotlight, especially if you're born on the end of Taurus. I do believe that's more like the 19th, 20th, and maybe kind of eking into the 21st of May. But that said, this is a turning point for you, and each of the successive eclipses that go into 2023 are these turning points. It's about relationship. It's about you. It's about new beginnings. It's about, at the same time, trying to find connection and negotiation with people and trying to delegate your life. But this is a time that's also, like I said earlier, it's really galvanizing a lot of the changes that you've been making the last couple of years. I know a lot of Tauruses, and I'm pretty sure if I pulled the room or pulled the audience, the Tauruses have not been, they're not in the same place mentally, emotionally, physically that they were in 2018. A lot of big changes. So Taurus, don't rush. That's the thing. There's a lot of hot energy right now. Just take it slow like you normally do. But have the courage to really get out of your way. Get out of a toxic relationship, get out of something that you're stuck in, something that you're holding on to and that you're attached to, because this is a moment where a lot of things could pivot. So there you go, Taurus. Oh yeah, Venus is also in Capricorn. So it's really about looking towards the future and trying to think about what life you want to create and examining your beliefs and knowing, Taurus, that you've got a lot of pressure on you to take some steps up in your personal life and really focus on your professional life and your career at the moment. Gemini, Taurus is your 12th sign. So the 12th sign is the sign that talks about the part of your life that's not manifested, which is ironic because Taurus is about the physical world, is about what you can touch and smell and taste. But here it is for you, Gemini. It's in a place that you can't physically touch. So this talks about spiritual values. It talks about what, spiritual security and what maybe you need in a non-physical way. But a lunar eclipse in your 12th sign is it's starting a cycle of really letting go of attachments that you have, attachments to the past, attachments, spiritual baggage, karma. But this is a time to really let go of something and let go of something that's intangible. That's why I said it's kind of looking at the emotional side of things. But do understand that this is more of a classical interpretation. An eclipse in the 12th can say that this is also a time to rest, to recuperate, and to prepare for the next cycle of your life. So take it easy, Gemini. But I also think that this lunar eclipse is highlighting a bigger story about faith, inner truth, inner wisdom, and a lot of the existential crisis that you're possibly having right now, Gemini. So do the inner work right now. Don't rush, don't push. Mercury, your planet, is in Scorpio, so I think it's a good time to get very precise, very detailed, very organized in your life. Get grounded. Because as you do a lot of the non-physical work, the spiritual work, you need to make sure your feet are on the ground. I will say that the interplay between the 12th and the 6th is about health and wellness. So there's physical health, there's non-physical health. There's your physical being, there's your non-physical being. And maybe using this lunar eclipse to let go of any negative attachments, addictions, the past, anything that just does not support and nourish you anymore. So this could be a turning point, and it's really playing off these bigger stories around faith and truth that have been very prevalent in your astrology throughout 2021, if not longer. Because I will say Gemini is one of those signs that has been through a little bit of the ringer over the past few years, and I think you kind of came to this point where it's like, what is it all worth? What does it all mean? But this is a time to prepare for another chapter of your life, Gemini. Cancer. So this eclipse is happening in your 11th sign. So it's highlighting friends and community. It's looking at your vision for the future in the world, and even kind of getting into these deeper stories about, do your friends value you? Do your community value you? Or even on the other side of that, like, what value do you put on community? Or do you put on the groups and the social connections that you're a part of? But that said, this lunar eclipse is highlighting more of a broader part of your life, your place in the world, which is kind of a big topic. But maybe you're getting involved in social causes, issues, politics. But there's things about getting involved on something on a larger social level. This could be community as well, but there is this push and pull that's happening between, well, who are you, Cancer? Especially, Cancer is doing a lot of deep work right now because of where Saturn is. And I think that maybe this lunar eclipse is potentially revealing something inside of you that shifts your vision of yourself in the world, or your connection to the world, or even what you want in the future. But that said, really open up your eyes to a new future and where your life can maybe go in a different direction. Because I know, Cancer, you are doing a lot of deep work. At least that's the idea right now, Cancer. Leo. So Leo, you're a fixed sign. You hear me say this every week. The fixed signs aren't so fixed at the moment. So this eclipse is galvanizing and bringing together a lot of the changes that you've been making in your professional life since 2018, 2019. With a lot of Leo clients, Leo rising clients, you're in the midst of a total professional reinvention. That could mean that you are in the same exact job that you were a few years ago, but something has shifted in a way. Maybe you've opened up. Maybe you're taking more risk. Maybe you're putting yourself out there in the world. But if you're not in a profession or in some sort of public role or some responsibility that's just not in alignment with who you are, here comes the eclipse. So it may force the issue. So here's, for my Leos to reflect on, what do you want to be when you grow up? If you're doing it exactly what you want to be, then do it more. Like, let go of the fears, the insecurities, the playing safe. But if you're not, what is it that's going to actually support you in this world? What's going to fit you? Because this is a really, to be fair, a crisis of professional authenticity right now. You can't keep being an XYZ if deep down inside you know that that's just not alignment with who you are. But there's this push and pull between home and family, the past, and your ambitions, opening up your ambitions. But Leo, this is a big turning point. It's also putting an emphasis on relationships. You're at a crossroads, and a lot of the deep, sort of the four corners of your life are really highlighted with this eclipse right now. But, really take a risk as much as you can, Leo, because, life's short. Virgo, this eclipse is in your 9th sign. And the thing about eclipses in the 9th is that it's not money, it's not your career, it's not relationships, it's not these things that we really know tangibly or intangibly. It's about faith, truth, meaning, your beliefs, what you stand for, your convictions. These things are kind of immaterial, but they're important. We all have to have a sense of the world beyond us. What do we believe in? This is something from as simple as your education, really prioritizing your education. Maybe this is opening up a new story where you go back to school, you get another degree, you get a higher degree. But then more of these philosophical questions. What's my truth? And that's the thing, like, we can't be so rigid that it's capital T truth. So I think that's a thing where Uranus is, in the influence of Uranus the past couple of years, is really trying to open up your eyes right now, Virgo, and to see how maybe you box yourself in with a lot of beliefs, self-criticism, not picking on you, Virgo. I just know how you roll. But this is the thing, Virgo, it's okay that it's not perfect. It's okay that it's not perfect, and that there's this mythical bar that you set for yourself that it has to hit. So what if maybe the most radical thing that you did right now, Virgo, is not make yourself crazy, not try to hit some invisible or mythical mark that doesn't exist, and maybe try doing it a little bit differently, making it a little messy. Not messy, but you know what I mean. But I think this eclipse is really trying to get you to get out of your own way, to examine the power of your, not just your voice, but the choices that you've been making, the choices that you can make in this moment, and maybe making very different choices. So this is all trying to shift your vision of the world, the vision of yourself, and the choices that you make in a very different direction. But this could be a time that really liberates you from you. That said, an eclipse in the 9th is also having a strong sense of what philosophy, what statement, what mission does your life hang upon. But it's also travel. So maybe Virgo, in some way you're thinking about travel, long distance travel, foreign travel. I realize travel is a little tricky, not impossible, but nevertheless, this is a time that's about travel, because it's trying to get you to see the world and get stuck out of old beliefs. Libra. So this eclipse highlights some of the work that you've been doing in 2021, which is looking at your inner saboteur. You've got this lunar eclipse is in your 8th sign. You've had Uranus there since May 18, March 19, and then sort of that square to Saturn. We're doing a little bit of mental gymnastics right now, but that square to Saturn in your 5th. The interplay between the 5th and the 8th is the role of the negative ego, the role of the positive ego. Negative ego is the critic, the saboteur, the self-destructor. Positive ego does, you take the work and the facing of the self of the 8th, and you use it to really express yourself in a very different way. But that said, a lunar eclipse in the 8th, it's probably not going to be light and breezy for the next couple of years, just being honest, Libra. This is a time when you have to do the work, do the inner work, go deeper into the inner work. When you have eclipses in the 8th, if you need that support, lean upon a confidant, a good trusted friend, but also maybe reach out to a therapist or a counselor if that's relevant to you, because this is highlighting the psyche and the things in the psyche that maybe you haven't fully looked at. It's putting a spotlight, and so there's that sense of like, you can't keep putting under the rug, so to speak, or pushing away these things that are deep down inside of you, and maybe these are things that are working against you. But there's power in the 8th. There's wealth in the 8th, but the wealth of the 8th comes from the wisdom and knowledge gained through the deeper work. But you do have Venus, your planet, in Capricorn, and that's an aspect to this eclipse. So there's something about how, Libra, you have to sort of, as we say, put your big person pants on and step up into some role. And maybe facing yourself means sobriety. It means either literal sobriety or metaphoric sobriety, getting very razor clear about certain things, because there are no illusions in the 8th, especially with these strong Scorpio oppositions in the 2nd. And really, this is trying to shift your sense of self-worth and your value and what you invest in, whether it's literal monetary investments, but also stability and security for the future. So it's kind of sticking on some deeper themes, Libra, but what is happening in sort of this metamorphosis of this time, Libra, is that you are becoming you. It's not easy. Do take care of yourself, Libra, but this is like I said, this is time of becoming you. Scorpio, happy birthday, Scorpio. It's the last week of Scorpio season. So if your birthday is on or near November 19th, the conventional wisdom is that the year ahead is very highlighted in some way. You're in the spotlight. There's a sense of a little bit more of a dramatic arc in your experiences over the next 12 months. There's a need to take action, to move forward. It's also about relationships. So Taurus is your relationship sign. And so you, by the way, you haven't had eclipses in Scorpio and Taurus since, was it 2013? We had eclipses 2013, 2014, I think 2015 as well. But this is a time that's really about people coming into your life, examining the relationship with the people that are presently in your life. It can herald a serious relationship. If you are currently in an intimate partnership, here comes an eclipse and it puts a spotlight right on it. And this will be a theme, like I said, over the next 18 to 24 months. So if a relationship is shaky, an eclipse is going to really show you that it is shaky. But what I've been noticing with some of my Scorpio clients is that you have Scorpios that have been single for years, and here comes somebody completely different than what the person would normally connect with. Because this person, in a way, is an agent of Uranus. It's here to awaken. It's here to get you out of your own way, Scorpio. And then my joke about Scorpio, and I am a Scorpio, is that we're supposed to be the sign of transformation and letting go. But here's the thing, Scorpio only lets go when it feels like it's in control. It's like, okay, I'll let go when you show me what the plan is and know exactly how this is going to unfold. But that's sort of the tough spot with Scorpio right now, is that you're not in control. And I do say, like, we have free will. The astrology is 50%. You're the other 50%. But eclipses sort of talk about the things that are bigger than us, that we can't control. We cannot control the fact that the sun and the moon at two intervals appear to disappear. That's the type of stuff that made the ancients really nervous. So Scorpio, you how is your star going up? How is your star going down? Hopefully only up. But this is a time where, like I said, the spotlight is really on relationships. And with the Mars opposition this week, you gotta make a break from something. It could be a toxic pattern, a toxic relationship pattern, the need to be in control of everything, and really trying to let people in right now. Because, I will say on a broader theme, Scorpio at this time is so much about home and family, putting down roots, settling down. I don't care if you're 80. It's about family, and however you want to define that, of course. But how do you really feel like you are planted somewhere? You really belong and you got your people. But in order for these things to come in, you got to actually let people in. So this could be a big turning point for you, Scorpio, this week, especially, again, if your birthday is on or near the lunar eclipse on November 19th. Sagittarius, just FYI, Sag, you will have a solar eclipse on December 4th. If your birthday is on December 4th, plus or minus a few days, it's going to be a powerful new year. But that said, Scorpio is your 12th sign, so there's a sense of you're coming to the end of something when you go through Scorpio season. Excuse me. And then lunar eclipse in Taurus. So Taurus is your sign of taking care of your body. It's health, it's wellness, it's your daily routines, it's even your relationship with your body. So look back a couple of years, Sag. Have you seen anything change about your day-to-day life? Have you seen anything change about your health and wellness? If not, this lunar eclipse really wants you to put a focus on your physical being. Your physical being is the most important relationship you will have in your whole life. It's your first relationship. It's even your first relationship before the relationship with your mother. So we all have, and many of us have, very skewed, distorted, unhealthy relationships with our physical being. We don't want to be here. It's hard to be here. But our physical being is the support for this life. It's the support for the rise of our consciousness and the rise of consciousness on this planet. It is a necessary part of us. Without it, we are just non-physical. Anyway, take care of your body. Maybe make some positive change in diet and fitness. Go for a walk. Really get the air flowing. But at the same time, because it's Scorpio season, you have to let go of attachments, let go of addictions, let go of patterns, do the deep inner work. But that said, this might even be in really shifting and changing your work. The sixth sign is about work. It's not career and that broader ambition, that role we play in the world. It's more the day-to-day stuff. But your work has been changing over the past couple of years, and that means changing daily patterns that are just not supporting you. But that said, you've got still have Saturn in your third. This is a time to really seriously examine the choices that you're making in your life, even the choices about how you take care of your body and show up on a day-to-day basis, but also taking your voice seriously. So that said, like a lot of the changes, this is the thing about, let's say, fire energy. Fire energy is about the vision. And Sag, you got a lot of vision. But that vision, it needs to be put into the physical world. You have to actually take the steps to make it happen. So maybe this eclipse is really pushing and forcing you to actually do the real concrete work. I will also add that, especially with Jupiter, your planet, it's coming to the end of Aquarius. It will go into Pisces at the end of December. So you're sort of wrapping up a lot of things. And then I think when you go into 2022, it's a different chapter. So really think about, how do you use this energy to really prepare yourself in a way for 2022 and your birthday season. Capricorn's in such an interesting place because your planet Saturn has just been in the push and pull with Uranus. So Capricorn, you are a sign that wants to have structure and keep everything nice and grounded, and so you can build towards the future and create success. But here's the thing, whatever structures you have built in your life that are just not in integrity with who you truly are, they're going to start to shift and shake if they're not already shifting and shaking in your life. Because here's the thing, you have Uranus in your fifth, and this is a time over a 7-year arc time of really revealing exactly who you are. Not how you've been programmed by cultural conditioning, not what mom and dad wanted, not what your community and friends want, but who are you deep down inside, and liberating yourself from the false self. But then you have Uranus, which is, in your fifth. You have that full moon in the fifth. So it's really highlighting these bigger questions about, well, who are you? How do you make time for play, for the self-expression, for creativity? For some people, this is a time that's really highlighting the role of children in their lives. And for some people, this is relevant. Maybe there's a pregnancy over the next 6 months, year, 2 years. But that said, really get down into what makes you, Capricorn. And then you have Saturn, your planet. It's in your second. So this is a sense about money and income, material stability. But again, make sure whatever structures, whatever value or dollar sign or whatever country you live in sign that you are putting on something, that it's actually relevant and actually supports who you are. Don't use somebody else's currency because you think that that's how the world is built. Use your own currency. That's the only currency that matters, and that's really what Uranus is trying to do, is to break you free from yourself and get you out of your own way. So this is a big turning point for you this year, and then you go into the end of the year, you got that last square, and the idea is that by your birthday, especially going into next year, a newer you is starting to emerge. But then again, it's the you that's always been there deep down inside. Aquarius, another fixed sign, not so fixed right now, but the eclipse is highlighting home and family. Home and family has been an area that's had a bit of an earthquake over the past 2-3 years. Of course, every Aquarius is going to live this differently. Maybe you made a huge move. Maybe you're thinking about making a huge move. Maybe there's been changes in your household, changes in who's been living with you. Maybe, I have an Aquarius friend who got pregnant with twins. Surprise. So that totally changed her household, of course. But you're going to experience this in your own way. The idea is that this part of your life, home and family, it's like a root. It has to actually support and nourish you. And if your home environment isn't quite what you need, or if there's toxic family members that you need to say goodbye to. But this is a time to really come back to your emotional needs, your emotional core, so that you can feel like your life is actually supported and stable and grounded, even though right now maybe you feel like nothing is stable and grounded at the moment. A very traditional way of looking at an eclipse in the fourth is that there's a move. There's a move over the coming 6 months. There's a move right now. There's a need to make a decision about where you're living, or a decision about your household. People are moving in, people are moving out. But eclipses say that something about your home environment is changing and or has already changed, because here's the thing, eclipses can come in before, because time apparently is a flat circle. But this is a huge turning point for you, Aquarius, especially with Uranus there, especially with Saturn in Aquarius. It's a time of new beginnings, and anything you can do right now, Aquarius, to get out of your own way. And this also means, and I say this with love, I know a lot of Aquarians, but that's an Aquarius, is to get out of your head. Aquarius, you're so good at being in your head that you sort of forget you actually have a body, you actually have emotional needs, and to really get in touch with what you need right now. Because what's happening right now, Aquarius, it's not an analytical problem to be solved. It's in the guts. It's deep. It's especially with all the Scorpio energy that's going to be coming into your life over the next year or so. But it's about career, and as you go forward, it's about your place in the world, the title after your name, your duties and responsibilities. But all of that worldly stuff rests upon the base and the bottom of the charts, home and family, however you want to define that. And how do you make that a priority right now? Finally, Pisces. So this eclipse is highlighting your third sign. The third sign is about voice and communication, how you express and think and listen and learn, but it's also about the choices that you're making right now. There is such a dynamic push and pull that's happening between your intuitive voice and your physical voice. Do remember, Pisces, I think I said this last week or a week before, is that voice is two things. It's literally the words out of your mouth, but it's also what is behind the words. This is why things can, imagine you're going to the concert for your favorite band, and you listen to the set and you are so jazzed because you just saw a concert, but then the band leaves the stage and then a cover band comes on. They play the same set. Do you think it sounds the same? Of course it doesn't, because the people singing, the people playing are different people. So my point is, Pisces, be you. Don't be anybody else, and know that there's certain things that cannot be replicated. So just in that example is to show you is the power of being yourself, the power of expressing your voice, the power of expressing the energy of what is behind your voice, which is what lies within you. But that said, it's really about opening up your intuition. You're in such a liminal phase right now, Pisces, about coming to the end of a long story arc. But this lunar eclipse is really highlighting the role of voice as well as choice in your life. And maybe you are weighing some big choices at the moment. On a little bit more of a mundane level, the third, and then where Scorpio is for you, which is the ninth, is about education, ideas, information. And maybe you're having to focus on your education right now. It's about travel as well. And maybe you're thinking about traveling other countries, other places, but that's a story arc that's going to take you into the next 18 to 24 months. But I think with the South Node coming to your ninth, you need to be very careful about the things that you think are absolutely rock solid true. And maybe it's in that space that you can get your blinders on and miss some of the important details. I think that there's something about this lunar eclipse that maybe is saying, in a way, the devil's in the details. Be very precise, be very clear, get a lot of new perspective. Don't get stuck in what you believe in. But that said, with that last Sagittarius eclipse on December 4th, Sagittarius for you is about career. It's your direction, it's your place in the world. And you still got one more eclipse that's going to really shift and shake your world. I mean that in a good way. But this is a big time for you as well, Pisces, even though you're not a fixed sign, you're a mutable sign. But there you go. But thank you all for joining me for another live look at the astrology for November 15th through 21st, 2021. Again, my name is Katie Sweetman. I'm here in the New York City area, but you can follow me online on Facebook, on Instagram, on Spotify, on YouTube, and also my website, empoweringastrology.com. Many of you are my clients, or you joined me this past week for a class or the webinar that I did on the eclipses. Again, if you want to learn all about the eclipses and what they mean for you, more beyond what I've already shared, I do have the replay available for the webinar. You can get the link is in the show notes, or you can go to my website. But very nice to see you all again week after week. It's a little bit cold here in the northeastern United States, but stay warm. And I will see you all next week. Take care. Bye.